Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of the day it is that you're watching this. Hi guys, again it's acting teacher Tristan here, back with another lesson for you, back with another acting lesson for you. I'm super excited about today's lesson. I hope that you guys are doing great. I hope that the quarantine hasn't gotten to you too much. Staying at home. I hope that you're staying healthy, staying busy, getting a lot of fun stuff done. Right, I know I am. Okay, so let's just go ahead and we'll jump right into it today. Last week we talked about acting with music, about not using our voices, about still creating a story, creating a character without actually using our voice, right? And our voice is what? Our voice is one of the factors that we can use to build a character, like we talked about in my first lesson. So last week we talked a little bit about miming. I showed you guys an example. Remember, I got trapped in a glass box, and that was a lot of fun. And then I pulled a piano. So we've already talked pretty briefly about miming, about using our acting body and our gestures and our face, not our voice, in order to tell a story. So you guys, you already have the groundwork, which is really great. You're halfway there. Like this is honestly a really, really simple lesson, because the thing about miming is that it is really, really simple. So no need to overthink this, but like I was saying, you guys we pretty much have the groundwork. But let's talk a little bit about the history of miming. We'll talk a little bit about the history of miming, about my personal history with it. I know I've already talked a little bit about it, but we'll delve more into detail for you. And then as usual, we'll get you guys up on your feet. I'll get up on my feet and I'll show you some examples, so that over the next week until we reach our next lesson, you guys have something to work on, something to do, which I already know you're going to be great at if you've been following along, and if you're following the one rule of just have fun, then you're already doing great. Again, just a little disclaimer I like to put for all these videos: this is not a hard acting class. This is not a method thing. This is about getting up on your feet, using your imagination, using really great theatrical tools in order to tell a story. It's just again a really fun game of make-believe. That's all I'm teaching. I'm just teaching you guys how to make believe. So yeah, so the history of miming. So mime actually comes from the word pantomime, which was actually used in ancient Greece. The Greeks, we owe pretty much the reason why we watch theater and movies and television. We owe all of that to the Greeks. They had a pretty good, I guess, cultural influence. I guess a better way to say that is they were really able to introduce the world of theater and theatrics to people, especially through plays and archetypes and different characters that I guess, again, sort of set the groundwork for what theater is, for what acting is today. But anyways, let's get back on point. So a pantomime, this was usually somebody who they would wear a mask, and they started off not talking, or talking, should I say, and they would perform little fun little skits, comedic skits to the audience, and the people loved this. This was really great. It was like, I don't know if you've ever seen like a costume character, when it's Easter time right now. So generally, if we were out in public, you would go to the mall and you would see an Easter bunny, and it'd be super cool, and the Easter bunny wouldn't talk, and it'd be like, here's an egg, and you'd be like, oh, I love this egg, or you'd be like, this really big creepy rabbit, and then you would take the picture and you would leave, right? Yeah, well, that's kind of like what pantomiming is. It's just the acting without words. So anyway, so pantomime that reached over through the medieval ages, and we'll go all the way down to the 20th century, so the early 1900s, right? And this is kind of where I guess the mime really began to take its place, especially through television and movies, or movies, should I just say, that a mime was really it began to take place. And I guess miming, it found its place in what we call street performing. And street performing, we're actually really, really lucky, because we see a lot of it here in New Orleans. If you go down to the French Quarter and stuff, there's people doing skits, doing flips, dancing and stuff, and people will they'll stop, or there's people drumming, there's all sorts of things, there's all sorts of acts being performed on the street. And that's that's basically what a mime would do, you know? They would perform these skits and stuff all without talking, maybe set to some music, just using their body and whatnot. And so it found its place kind of in comedy and stuff, because you, with the early works of, I guess we'll just go ahead and we'll cite Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin, he's a really older, well-known mime, and he would appear in old black and white films where he wouldn't talk at all, but he would just get in these really just like wacky, zany adventures, and you'd be like, who is this guy? What is he doing? But you would like it, you know? You couldn't stop watching. It was really funny. He was just like an absolute clown. Mimes and clowns are very similar, and oftentimes you'll often see mime clowns. I guess some weird hybrid of it. I don't know. So that brings us here today with our miming tips and tricks. I went ahead and I wrote out a few tips and tricks that we're going to use, that once I get up on my feet here today, that we're going to use in order to help us be good mimes. So, very simple. Silence, show size, and show detail. So we already have the first part down, right? As we practiced last week, we used silence, and we just reacted according to the music, right? And it was a lot of fun. It was really good. Now we're going to also do the same thing, but we're going to show size and we're going to show detail. So we're going to focus a little bit more on that today. I think last week I didn't really want to delve too much into, for instance, when I defeated the dragon, I didn't want to really delve too into the idea of, okay, the dragon's going to be this big, this large. It's really important that we show that this is a big dragon versus a small dragon. But this week, I think as it's an essential part of being a mime, I think that's something we can cover more. So we'll show size. For instance, if we're going to be walking a dog today, I'll scoot back for this. If we were walking a dog today, I would first start off and I would imagine a dog. So let's imagine a rather large dog. We have a dog comes up to here. It's about this big. You got its head right here. Okay, right? Scratch its ears some. Stuff it's about this big. You got its tail over here, and its tail's wagging back and forth. And so now we have a dog, right? And I showed you with size. I showed you with my hands. And it's like you can pet it. You can show it's obviously like pretty large up the ground. You can even lean back and pet it. And then, oh my goodness, its tail is like in my face. And I'm just like, oh, okay, you're really happy to see me. Okay, yep, you're a good boy. And then maybe the dog comes around and wants to lick my face too. And it's a really big dog, right? At this point, it's a really big dog. So you might fall back a little bit. You ever been licked by a dog and you're on the ground and it's just all in your face and you can't really do anything else? So you might be like, oh my goodness, oh, and you're still trying to scratch it. Oh my goodness, oh, you're a good boy. Oh, yes, you are, you're a good boy. And then you're like, oh, okay, that's good. Stay there, boy. Good boy. And so, and just remembering that number 2 rule, showing size, I'm able to create a dog. And again, full disclosure, I'm fully aware this is just building upon the lessons that we've already done. So this time, concentrate a little bit more on showing the size with whatever project or whatever endeavor that your mime decides to do. Concentrate on really showing that size. And our third rule was showing detail. Yes, we want to show detail. So even again with that dog and stuff, if it's a mean dog, I would have reacted a little bit differently, right? I might have like put my hand out, been a little bit more timid in order to show that, wow, this is a really big dog. I'm afraid of it a little bit, right? Showing detail, it's really good. And it's probably, I would say, looking at the 3 rules that I've gone over, showing silence. Silence, show size, and show detail. I feel like showing detail is probably the biggest takeaway. It's the number 1 thing you want to do when you're acting as a mime. I think a bit, especially when we were acting in the first 2 lessons, since it's more of just a you on you, and it's just really supposed to be a fun exercise and stuff. And since you are able to use your voice, the detail, just like the size, it did not matter as much as what we did in the first 2 lessons. But now that we want to focus on miming and stuff, we're still making believe, we're still acting like we did in the first 2 lessons. But this time we're actually we're committing to it, and we're very much trying to communicate through showing size and showing detail that this is the story that we're trying to tell. This is the dog that I'm trying to pet. It's a nice dog. It's kind of a big dog. It's got really furry fur. It's got really furry fur. It's got some nice ears. It's very friendly. It was all over me, and its tail was in my face. Again, just using those three things to really employ the detail. It's really good. So again, just a few more tips and tricks that I wrote out here on my really, it's very simple. My very simple tips and tricks for being a mime. Visualizing. Looking back on our other two lessons, we really had to visualize, and we really had to make believe and believe in ourselves and absolutely look silly, right? That's what we did. So this time, since you've already done it, you already know how to do it. We all know how to use our imaginations. I want you to really visualize whatever it is that you're reacting to as a mime, down to the details. Like with my dog was a brown golden retriever, and it was a girl. And sometimes golden retrievers, they have a lot of fur, so we'll say, yeah, it was a pretty shaggy golden retriever. And when it was in my face and stuff, its eyes were kind of going all crazy like what dogs do, and its tongue was everywhere, and there was spit. See, I was able to create all of that just off the spit of my tongue, just by like thinking about the dog and stuff. But we'll back it up. You might want to do that before you actually do the project, and we'll go over that here when I get up on my feet in a few seconds. We talked about pantomiming. Again, just not using your voice, really committing to the bit. I would say, I know we've talked a little bit about heroes and villains. We just want to go ahead and we want to make our pantomime character just a straight hero, because usually, like I said, they're comedic, they're clowns, they're meant to have fun. So anyways, there's not really much else I can tell you on miming. We've gone over the history, we've gone over some ground rules and stuff. Again, you already know how to do it. We're just making believe, we're just having fun. But this time, we've got a few more rules, we've got a few more, I guess, guidelines to really help us tell our story well, okay? Okay, so adjusted the camera angle there a bit. I am very tall, I apologize. Just want to make sure that you guys can see me, so you can at least see my upper body, which is pretty good. So, let's just get to a place. And if you want, you could do a little warm up, a little exercise, just to really get your blood flowing, get it to the brain, get it to all corners of the body. And we'll just go ahead and we'll remember our three rules. So the first one was silence, and I'll get to that in a bit, because in order to explain this to you, I need to talk, obviously. So the next thing is showing size. So I'm going to give myself a scenario, just like I did with my knight and with all my other characters. I'm going to give myself a scenario as a mime, and I'll use that to show you size, and then we'll go to show detail. Okay, so our first skit, just a real simple thing to get you guys on your feet, is let's pretend that we're walking in the wind. Okay, so let's say that the wind, well, let's not even say. The fact of the matter is that wind it's a lot, especially like heavy wind, especially like, you guys know during hurricane season it gets pretty windy. So when a wind comes and it's really big, it really affects your body, right? So you're not gonna like walk like this against some heavy wind. No, you're not, because I mean that's like how it is right now. That's a simple breeze. So what I know I usually do when I'm walking against wind is I usually have my hands in my pockets. So that's showing some detail. That's showing that, oh, it's cold outside. I have my hands in my pockets. Usually we all put our hands in our pockets, right? Cool. And then what I might do, so I might turn towards, I'll say that the wind direction is coming this way, so I'm walking against it, of course. And I might lean forward a little bit. And I might really make like a sour face, because the wind is so cold and it's just really going against me. So I'm gonna make this sour face, and I might put my head down a bit. And then I'm just gonna walk, and I'm gonna imagine, remember, like visualizing, we're visualizing this heavy wind, so I'm imagining things blowing past me, the wind's blowing tree branches every which way, it's whistling, it's really loud, it's so cold, I'm imagining all the cold and stuff. I'm gonna put my hands in my pocket, and then I'm gonna walk, and I'm just gonna remember, I'm gonna employ all those details that we used. So I'm gonna walk, and I might slide my feet back a little bit, and it might be really hard for me to take another step. Then I'll turn my face this way. Oh, got a bit, and then maybe a bit more. That was like half speed. Let's give you guys like something more up to speed, something actionable. So I used all those details, right? Let's put those together again one more time for you. Hands in pockets, scrunched up face, really visualizing that cold, that weather, that wind, and just boom. Oh. I'm just really struggling. I might take my hand out of my pocket in order to. Oh my goodness. And I'm so. And then it might pull me back. And then I gotta start again. So, try and pick up my feet and put it down and pick up the other foot. And then, oh my goodness, it blows me back, and I'm blown right off the screen. Simple stuff, right? Again, just building onto the groundwork that we've already done in my first 2 videos. So that was kind of fun. That was something, it's kind of hard work working against wind. It really leaves you out of breath. So that time I did talk, I showed my detail, and I showed size. I showed size by when the wind blew me back. It was obviously like a big wind, so my whole body blew back, and then I showed size also by moving across the screen. Really simple stuff. Let's try something else. Let's try walking a dog. So again, I'll scoot back for you, and actually, so that you guys can adequately see the dog, stand up there for you. And I'm going to do this whole exercise this time without talking. So I'm going to use silence, showing size, and showing detail this time to show you guys how we would walk a dog. Well, that was a lot. Okay, so hopefully, I'm hoping I'm a good mime. I've been mimed in a few years actually, so that could have been a little bit rusty. But I'm hoping that you guys were able to see both that I showed silence this time, or showed silence. I didn't talk this time. I showed size, both the size of the dog, the size of the leash, all that to show what I was doing. And then I showed detail, everything from at the very beginning, from when the dog walked over. Miming's really hard. Let me catch my breath. Okay, so from the time when the dog walked over, and I scratched behind its ears and everything, and I rubbed on it, and it got a little bit wild. Everything I did the first time, I showed detail and stuff, showing what the dog was doing. Even though there's no dog, I showed it all with me. Then I went around and stuff, and I got my leash, or I got the dog's leash. I put the leash on. We went out for a walk. The dog got a little bit crazy. We stopped at a stop sign. He saw a squirrel and we chased after it. All these things employing detail, just like I talked about the first time. So I want you guys to really practice over the next week over all those details that we said. Silence, showing size, and showing detail. All those factors and stuff that build towards being a good standard mime. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's lesson. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. All my lessons, I just want you to have fun. Just make sure that you're having fun, please, please, please. It may feel a little bit weird, but again, if you're feeling a bit weird, then you're doing it right. So, again, my name is Tristan. I have been your mime teacher today, your acting teacher, but we focused on miming today. If you have any comments or concerns, info@communityworks.org. I would love to hear any kind of input or anything that you wish you'd like to see more of in these videos. Just let me know. I'm here to help with whatever I can do in I guess this realm of theater and of acting. But keep working on those mimes, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care.